Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer and today I'm Gamesplaining Trajan. So this game is set up as a two-player game. The winner is obviously the person who gets their points the highest. Yes, there's a conflict for points. However, there's a heck of a lot of stuff going on. So on your turn, what you'll get to do is move any pot worth of these around your rondel. So say for example, I might select these two, drop one there and one there. This is now the action that I am doing. So the action where I got up to. I have dropped one extra in each of the pots that I've gone past. The beginning of the game, that's only the two. But as the game goes on, you'll find that some of these pots get quite large because you use that action quite often or you go past that action quite often. So if I wish to do this one a lot, that one would probably get a fair few in it because I'd be coming past it each time. But you'll find that you're not able to do that action next turn because you don't have anything that can reach it. There's very much a balancing act happening with which actions you can do, which actions you want to do. It runs in a number of rounds. We're on the first round or the first year. If I move two tiles, two counters from a box, place them in the next spots, I would move that, or the other player in the rulebook, the player before the player whose actually action it is, would move that forward too. The next player has a turn, they move two of their tokens, that moves two. On my next turn, if I move three, 1, 2, 3, I'll do that action, that moves three. When it gets past this arrow, one of these tiles gets turned over, showing one of the needs that needs to be met at the end of the year. That will happen until there are 3 of them out. Then, once this token gets past the arrow again, we meet those needs. So in which case, each player is going to need to have a good the same as one of the needs. So in this case, if this player has bread, he's met that need. He hasn't, however, met the other 2 needs. So any unmet needs give the player negative points. So if there's 1 unmet need, it would be minus 4 points. 2 unmet needs is minus 9 points, and 3 is minus 15 points. So at the moment, this player would drop backwards 9 points, which is fairly hefty when it comes down to it. So you don't want to do that. And that keeps going until the 4th time around. 4th time around, we meet those needs again, as I've just shown you, and then go into the final scoring. Once you have selected your action, there are 6 of them available. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You will do that action, then it's the next player's turn. When it comes back to your turn, you'll then move the tokens around again. These tokens on the side will be claimed if you get to a point where you're using an action that has the 2 colors that are showing. So for example, if my next action were to use this one, I go 1, 2, I've got a pink and a white match with that. I take that card off, that card goes to the side. I get the bonus action that's in the middle. There are 6 definite bonus actions, or there's more than that, but there's 6 available. And then I also get the points that are showing on the top of the card. So let's run through what each of the actions available to us are. The first one, or number 1, the action is the C action, which is up here. Now it's called the seaport action. What you'll do, you'll have a few options when it comes to the seaport action. You start the game with 3 cards in your hand. What you are trying to do is get combinations that will enable you to send the cards off to sea. So at the moment I have 3 different cards. So theoretically I could send 3 different cards to sea and get 6 points for sending those 3 cards. Whenever I take the seaport action, I have a few things available to me. So I could take 2 cards from the top of the face down pile. What I'll then do is I'll look at these 2 cards, I will keep one of them, and I'll discard the other one. Also, what I could do is I could pick up one of the cards from the face-up cards and add it to my hand. So in essence, I'm getting 1 card with each of those 2 actions. Just with this, there are 2 discard piles. When you deplete one of the discard piles, you just open it up again with a new card. I could play 1 or 2 cards from my hand as a face-up thing. So say I take these two cards and put them face up in front of me. These cards are not able to be played to send them abroad, but they might give me some points at the end of the game. So, for example, and I will get to these, but if I have one of these cards in front of me that's looking for the diamonds, I've got diamonds that have been used, so that is actually worth 3 points to me. Or I could ship commodities abroad, which looks like, as I said, setting things up here. So at the moment, I've got 2 cows in my hand. So those 2 cards that are the same will give me 5 points. If I had another pair of cards, that would give me 10 points. Or it could give me 6 points because that one and that one are the same. So this one's talking about pairs, that one's talking about singles. Obviously, the more of the same card you have, the more points it's worth. The more different pairs you've got, the more points that's worth as well. The next spot around, so if I finish my tiles here, I would get to do a forum action. Forum actions are these actions just here. So you're looking at the little icon at the bottom of the box or the bowl that you're going to. So the forum action looks like taking one of these tiles, one of the 9 tiles available. I've set up for a 2-player game. If it's set up for a 3-player game, there's another row. If it's set up for 4, then another 2 rows on top of what we've currently got. And you can take any of those tiles and place them face up on their space. So what do those tiles do? I am glad you asked. A little bit of this won't quite make sense yet, but it will make sense as the explanation goes on. So first up, if I was to take this one, I would place that on the side. That gives me an extra 4 points when it comes down to scoring the forum track. But all that means is whoever's the furthest ahead will get to choose one of these, and they'll put that face up with the yellow side in front of them. The second person in line will then put one of these face down, which is the same as the face up, so it shows the same icons, but has less points for those icons. Tokens will then go back to the beginning, with the person who's lowest on the Senate track being at the bottom of the pile and the person who's highest being on top. If there's a split like that, blue would win that because they're on top of the pile. So whoever's on top of the pile is actually the furthest forwards. If I was to take that one, it would give me a need met. So I'm assuming that one of the needs is up here. So each of the ones that are available at the moment are showing different commodities that could come out of this stack. So enabling the forum to feed their people. Any of these yellow tiles will go onto the spaces on the yellow track, which will give the player a second action. So for example, they might put that there. And what they can do then is, say I've taken an action, it doesn't really matter which action. I can then say I now need to move forward with that and do that action as well. That tile then comes off and goes into the discard pile. In amongst those tiles, there's also tiles that look like this. They get piled up over on this part of the board. So there's 4 different types of tiles, and they work with different sections of the board. So the one that I just drew works with this section of the board, and we'll add an extra one at the end of the game if necessary. If I pulled out one of the green ones, it works as a wild demand. The demands are these guys here. So if I find that I'm one short of what I actually need, I can use that wild demand instead of the ones up on the top. One is the commodities, which are the cards. And so you can use one of those to stand in for any card when going for the boats. And this one is the extra wild cards. And that basically means it's substituted for any of these extra actions. And once it's used, you get taken out of the game. Moving around to action number 3, we have the helmet or the military action. What we get to do during the military action, once again, you've got 3 options on this. So the first option is you move one of your guys from here up into that top space. The second action you could do is move your leader, which is the big guy, to one of the adjacent spaces. So here, here, or here. Once a leader has been moved to a province, like here, you get that tile straight away, and that comes over onto your board. The third action is to move one of your legionnaires, your small guys, onto that province. You get the points straight away, so he'll get 3 points. 1, 2, 3. And that's it. So you've got 3 actions you could do. You can only claim with your small guys areas where your large guy is, where your legionnaire is. So if he now moves his legionnaire to here, this guy can now jump to there as his next action. So legionnaire goes there, this guy jumps there, gets 6 points, and that goes down there. So that was 2 actions. This guy can then send his leader here, even though there's a legionnaire already there. He could then, on the next turn, call his legionnaire over, but he gets 3 less points per legionnaire that's there. So him going there would actually get him 0 points simply because there's another legionnaire there already. Notice he can't then call a legionnaire over here. You can only have 1 legionnaire from yourself in each province. Legionnaires are always called from this space. They're not called from the spaces that you have been to. Moving on. The next one we have moving around the track is the Senate action. That's these ones I was talking about earlier. All you do whenever you take the Senate action is you move your disc forward 1 space. You'll take whatever points are underneath there. So he'd take 2 points for going to that one. On the next turn, if you use the Senate action again, so say he did 1, 2, oh look, I'm going to use the Senate action, he would move that forward again. All that's doing is giving him more power in the Senate. Yes, he'd get 3 more points, 1, 2, 3, but whoever's at the front at the end of the year will be the person who gains the privilege of choosing which of those cards they're going to take. The next one round is the Trajan action. With the Trajan action, you'll take the top one of any of these 6 tiles and you'll place it where the Archer Trajan is. So say this player thinks that he's got a chance of getting that one, that will go there. Archer Trajan moves around to the next available space and there's another bonus there. If all of that's full up, so there's nowhere for this archer to go to, that will go to the center until one of the cards has been used. As soon as one of those cards is claimed, the Archer Trajan will go back to that spot. So it's basically just marking the beginning space for where you're placing your tokens. What they do is they give you a benefit straight away. So let's run through them really quickly. The one that I moved across, once I get it, the way to get it is to have the same colors as what's showing in the top come onto the space that you're going to use, and for you to actually use that space. So for example, if this worked its way around and became that, those 2 yellows would claim that tile, so that one will have been claimed by that. I'll then take that action. What the tokens do is, let's run through them. The one with 2 pictures, so the guy I just took, moves 2 of your guys into this space, the space with the hammer. See, there's a picture of a hammer. This one does the same thing, but only sends 1 guy. Notice the one with 1 guy is worth more points than the one with two guys. This one gets placed here, and there's 1 for each of the 3 different types of food or whatever that the people will be looking for at the end of the round. What happens at the end of the round? Any of the green tiles that are used get taken away. These ones stand in for 1 of those green tiles. So at the moment, I'm covered for 2 food, 1 fire, and 1 helmet. If 1 food, 1 fire, 1 helmet comes out at the end of the year, I would lose the food and the fire, but the helmet would stay there and would be covered. This one enables me to take 2 more cards, which will help with the boats. That one just gives me points straight away. And that one enables me to place a +2 marker on any of these markers along here. And what that allows me to then do is, if I take this action, which is the Senate action, if I do take that, I will actually get to take that twice. So I go 1, 2, I get 4 points, I get 5 points, which is 9 points total, and push me forward. I would obviously use that, but the +2 would stay there for future reference and for future use. The next action round is the last action available to us, and that's the build action or the construction action. What we're doing with that is, once again, just like with the military action, we need to move guys into the circle. Once they're in the circle, they can then be placed. The first guy that gets placed can be placed anywhere. And what's happening with that is that, say I go here, I've placed it on that action. I would gain the victory points straight away, so 4 points, 1, 2, 3, 4. If this is the first tile going on to any of the spaces, I would gain the action that's marked, which in this case is this action. So I get to take any one of these tiles again that I wish. And I might take that one. Or each of the other 5 actions are marked down the side with each of the different types of thing. Now what that's doing for me, the reason that I would like to achieve groups of them is that there are points at the end of the game for sets of these. So if on my next turn I have to go somewhere next to the piece that I've placed already, it either needs to be horizontal or vertical, so I can't place in those two. But what I can do is, if I place here, I've now got 2 of the stairs, or the same marker for the end of the game. The other ones are down here and here. I would have to work really hard to get down to them. So looking out for places where you've got those things next to each other is actually a really good thing to do. What they're worth to me at the end of the game is if I get a set of 3 of the construction tiles, so I've only got 2 there at the moment. If I did manage to get across and get that one, or get down and get that one, that would make 3 on that pile, which would give me a total of 10 points at the end of the game. If I can get all 4 of them, I'm getting 20 points at the end of the game. So it's worthwhile trying to build up at least 3, if not the 4, in any of the piles that you're able to do. You are allowed to place workers on the same spaces as other workers. So pretty much any time they're the same size, you can place them on the same spot as others. You're not going to get any bonus or any benefit from going there. However, that will put you in a position to get to other tiles that may be next to that spot. I believe that is the basic rules for this game, or the majority of rules for this game. Please, if you need to see, or if you would like to see some playthrough of the game to actually get a real good feel for it, please go on and watch my other videos. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write them below. If you have any games that you wish to be Gamesplaned, please shoot me an email at thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at thegamesplainer to see what games I've been playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games that I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.